Hi, Jyoti. How are you? How is day looking where you are?
Well, I'm doing well, and it's pretty hot out here in North Carolina.
Really?
Yes, already
Really?
it's hot, and I don't know how the summer
Wow.
is going to be.
Yeah. Actually, it's a very good day here in California. And,
Mhm.
I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. And thank you for joining. You know that we've been trying to do this for such a long time. And finally, the stars have aligned.
Yes,
Yeah,
likewise.
yeah. So just for our listeners, I have with me today Jyoti Shah, who is a yoga professional, and she is joining us from Northwest Cary. She's a very accomplished yoga professional. She's been practicing or she's been teaching yoga for more than 18 years. And I think she's been a yogi herself for more than 30 years now. And we will delve into details of her journey as a yogi, but she's also a mindful breathing teacher. And I thought that it's so important to have her on today so that we could learn from her how to manage our day-to-day stress. So without further ado, I think I'm just going to give the platform to Jyoti so we can learn more from her. Jyoti, please tell us something about yourself and how your career came about and how yoga is a part of your life now and how we all can incorporate yoga. I'll have more detailed questions later on, but I think I just want to hear how your journey has been so far.
Thanks, Neha. Thanks for inviting me on this platform. Um, so for me, so let me introduce first myself, and
Excellent.
from there we can go. My
Yes.
name is Jyoti, and I run a business, YogaSheila. And people think that my name is Sheila, so
Oh.
AKA. My name is Jyotisha, I'm not Sheila. I
Okay.
always have to make specific about that.
Yeah.
I'm a certified, as you mentioned, a yoga, mindfulness, and meditation teacher, and I
Hmm.
bring over pretty much 18 years of experience in my yoga teaching.
Hmm.
My approach of teaching for yoga brings together those mindful movements in asanas, the breath work, and the pranayama and meditation practices.
Hmm.
And my teaching is also informed by various traditions. Is the
Hmm.
Hatha Yoga tradition, the Himalayan tradition of the Himalayan Institute, the living
Hmm.
tradition,
Hmm.
the Buddhist
Hmm.
tradition,
Hmm.
and also the Vini Yoga tradition. So I combine all of these traditions, teachings, what I have learned and earned, and put into my teaching practice.
Hmm. Hmm.
And about all of those things, functional breathing
Hmm.
and the breath work
Hmm.
plays a big role on it.
Hmm.
Along with
Hmm.
that, all my practices, what I offer is the more about the mind body um, healing programs I
Hmm.
offer,
Hmm.
and more focusing on the chronic physical and emotional pain.
Hmm.
And that's my focus and the
Hmm.
focused programs I offer.
Hmm. Hmm. That's
Yeah.
so amazing. And how did you get into this field of yoga? Do you want to share a little bit about your journey, how this came about to be for you?
Yeah, well, it's uh, it's always a point when I was here and rest of my family in India, and
Hmm.
all of a sudden we found out that my dad
Hmm.
was going through some health issues.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it was pretty much when we found out his condition was not good.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
we heard the news that
Hmm.
he's no longer with us.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that was a huge impact on my life. And I
Hmm.
was thinking, what just happened? My life has become pretty much upside down,
Yeah.
and didn't know how to react to it
Hmm.
or how
Hmm.
to respond to it.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
to get out of that grieving process and to
Hmm.
make myself like, how I can come out of this,
Hmm. Hmm.
yoga became a big part of my
Hmm.
grieving process. And
Hmm.
another reason is that my dad introduced me growing up about yoga and the importance of yoga and living a yogic life. And being a
Hmm.
Jain, I'm
Yeah.
it's also part of also I'm living as a yogic life anyways, being vegetarian
Exactly.
and following non-violence, right? Ahimsa, right?
Yeah.
And on top of that, this yoga helped me. And there was something when I was practicing yoga, I felt that something was shifting, some energy was shifting from in my body, and I didn't know what was happening, but I was feeling good about it. And that made me think, like, if has helped me in the grieving process, maybe there is something deep down. So that was the initial point for me to dive deep into the yoga. And I decided, okay, I want to do a formal training. So I started with my 200-hour teacher training, and this was in the year 2004. Yeah. And here I
Rest
am.
is history. That's amazing. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for, being vulnerable, because I think that all of us have some kind of, experiences in our life that we are going through, which kind of contributes to stress. It could be, losing a parent, which definitely, can be a big stressor. The grieving journey can be difficult, but also, just the modern lifestyle and day-to-day stress that people face. We all need tools to kind of deal with it. So thank you for sharing how you kind of fell back on yoga and how you were first introduced to yoga by your father, because I think that's the privilege of being a South Asian or being Indian, that so many of these cultural practices are inherited down, and then it's upon you to kind of take them up and explore them further, just like you did. And for you, even better, because you converted that into a full career, and I'm sure it's one of the most fulfilling experiences to be able to help people with all the expertise that you've gained over the years. So I think that brings me to my next question. I know that you talked about these different yoga practices like the Hatha Yoga, the Vinyasa, but then what stood out for me was you said the crux of all of this is breath work. So do you want to share a little bit about yoga or breath work or yogic breathing, and what is exactly breath work?
Yes, absolutely. I would love to talk about it. So when we talk about yoga, it is pretty much the first thought comes is the physical posture, right?
Absolutely.
Physical aspect of yoga, that's what we all think about it. But there's more than just the physical aspect. And here, that's where the breath work, the pranayama, and the meditation comes into the picture. I'm not denying that physical aspect is not good. Through the physical posture and the asana practices we do, that is pretty much becomes the doorway for us to enter into the deeper aspect. And when I say deeper aspect, I'm talking about the prana.
Internal.
The internal, right? And yoga scriptures have been telling us to experience that, to experience this deeper aspect, the prana. Another word, I call it as a life force, and we all know that about it. Like it's a living energy, right? Prana being the living energy, it keeps us alive, right? So we can access this living vitality, living reality of the prana through our breath. The breath that we breathe. So in a way, prana is the subtle aspect, and we can reach to the prana through our breath. Right? So in general, asana practice definitely helps. It gives us the entryway to enter in. But breath brings us closer to the prana, the living energy. That's what we want to experience in our life.
Thank you for explaining. It's quite deep. And like you said, whenever you think of yoga, the first thing that comes to your mind is the yoga poses, especially when social media is filled with, different asanas and the more complex ones. I think the next I wanted to ask you, so what are benefits of breathing? We learned that breath work is important to harness the power of prana. What are some of the benefits that we can experience?
Tons and tons of benefits, Neha. Just by focusing in our breathing, And just a tagline kind of thing I can say about breathing is to breathe low and slow, light and silent.
Low and slow, light and silent.
And we'll talk about it more.
Yeah.
But this is my guideline for anybody whenever they are doing their breathing practices. And following those guidelines, when people do this practice, tons of benefits they can achieve. Lowering the blood pressure, heart rate, breath rate itself, because we are slowing down your breathing, right? So breath rate reduces. Reducing and managing the reduces and the stress. And also it manages the stress, right?
And it's so important.
Yeah. And better sleep, improved focus, your physical energy increases. Definitely it calms your nervous system and overall well-being of your body. All of those things. And when we are breathing lower in the body, it also helps balance the oxygen and the carbon dioxide exchange. And it balances the level of it.
Wow.
So that's the biggest part of, again, the biochemistry and the physiology of our body, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
something that we don't pay attention to at all,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So these are just a few of the benefits I just mentioned, but there are tons and tons of benefits on this. Yes.
But thank you. I think you touched upon all the broad benefits that, our audience, at least my audience, would like to know, because like, on my page, I talk so much about diabetes and blood sugar management. And of course, with diabetes, heart disease and blood pressure, all of these conditions coexist. So reducing blood pressure, helping you with stress reduction, because all of us kind of lead very stressful lifestyle. It can be the traffic that can stress us out. It can be this bunch of emails that you see in the morning, and the cortisol goes up, and when the cortisol goes up, the blood sugars go even higher. So it's very fascinating to me to know that breathing properly can help you not only with better sleep, which we all need, better focus, which again we all need, but also with better blood sugars and better blood pressure. And I think I found this very fascinating where you said when you breathe properly, the oxygen and carbon dioxide ratio gets well managed in your body, and our cells need oxygen for all kind of processes that they need to undergo. So to me, with all the explanation that you've given, it sounds like breathing is really the magic pill that we are looking for. Only if we took time to be more conscious about our breaths and kind of breathe properly, we would be so much more in control of our bodies and also emotions. That was amazing. Breathing help us in day-to-day life, what would be some of the things that people can experience when they breathe properly? I mean, some of the points you've already mentioned to me, which are the benefits, but can you see these benefits almost immediately? Does it take a time for you to see these benefits?
Yes, definitely. And it just takes a few breaths for us to calm our system down, definitely. So how does the overall breathing work, right? What is the primary role of breathing? Is to absorb the oxygen, right? And expel the carbon dioxide.
Exactly.
To the movement, and this happens to the movement of the lungs. And muscles that control the movement of the lungs is diaphragm. Right? Diaphragm is the driver in this whole respiratory system. Right? Along with diaphragm, even the intercostal muscles, the muscles between the ribs, those are also active part in our respiratory system. So yes, we are breathing in, and the diaphragm controls that, the movement, right? So when I say that, the healthy and the functional way of breathing happens when diaphragm contracts, engages with the abdominals, right? And relaxes back into its resting position in a very rhythmic way. So when we are breathing in, air goes in, right? And then the diaphragm contracts. It presses against the abdominal organs. And then when we are breathing out, the lungs gets empty and the diaphragm relaxes into its own resting position. Right? So that's how the whole rhythmic happens. Right? So when we are under stress, this rhythm is totally disturbed. And what do? We
breathe
end
fast.
up recruiting our, when we fast, we end up recruiting our chest muscles, right? And the secondary breathing muscles in our breathing. Diaphragm will work it works in partner. It either works with abdominals or it works with the chest and upper respiratory muscles, right? So two different ways. When it works with the abdominals, your breath is nice, lower, slow, relaxed breathing, engaging with the abdominal muscles. But the moment it starts to recruit these upper chest muscles, then that means that we are breathing faster and shallow and those things, right? So in that, it's very important that the way we breathe matters, right? So there are few different ways I can talk about it.
Sure.
And just to get the idea of why it's so important, the way we breathe matters, right? So it's the volunteer. There is something called the volunteer way of breathing, in the sense that a person is breathing with control, right? Conscious breathing with awareness. So one chooses to breathe in a certain way. That's a volunteer way of breathing. There is something called also involuntary way, in that one does not choose to breathe in a certain way. In fact, I call it as a non-volunteer way, and there's another one called the automatic way of breathing. So when I say automatic way of breathing, like when we are not paying attention and it keeps us alive and the breath is in autopilot. Right? That's automatic.
That's when we are talking or driving or doing different tasks,
So
things
no,
are happening.
talking, we choose to do that.
I see.
So for example, that is volunteer. Choose. So talking, singing, like eating, talking, all of those things, that we are volunteering to do that, right? But non-volunteer way, involuntary way could be automatic way or non-volunteer way. And automatic way is the autopilot. Everybody pretty much, when they are not paying attention, they are breathing in automatic way. There is something called non-volunteer way. So we don't have the control when we breathe in a non-volunteer way, because this non-volunteer way breath is associated with our stress, with our pain, and with our emotions. When I say emotions, it could be positive emotions or negative emotions. But mostly it's associated with the negative emotions. So for example, if somebody comes and gives you a bad news, right? At that time, when you notice, your breath is short
and
fast.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And sometime we do is suddenly you see something and you are get afraid of those things. Notice how your breath is.
Fast.
We do that.
Exactly.
Right? We suck in. Right?
So
our breath changes and shifts based on our emotions, our stress, our pain. Right? So now imagine that if you are continuously in a chronic state of pain and stress, okay, and then if you are also breathing in the automatic way most of the time, then your breathing, your emotions gets coupled. So then you end up breathing in the involuntary way, where you are not in control of your breathing, you're just breathing it.
Yeah, it's just
Based
happening,
on
and you're
what the
not.
space, pain, and all of those things, right?
Right.
So I divide this into three different ways of breathing. One is the volunteer, second is the automatic, and third is the non-volunteer way. And the emotions gets coupled. When I say that, the automatic way and the non-volunteer way gets coupled into each other. And that's why we stay in the state of stress and pain. And that triggers when we are in that state, our autonomic nervous system, especially the sympathetic nervous system, gets triggered. Right? Because you are recruiting all those muscles and the messages have been sent, and you are staying in that state for a longer time. And that builds up you are in that state of most of the time.
The fight or the flight state, as they call.
Yes.
And so I think what I'm getting from this explanation that you gave is you want to try and be more conscious and aware about your breathing if you want to seek benefits, and the benefits that we just discussed in the earlier question.
Yes.
So whenever you are in between a task or feeling stressed, I think it's important to first recognize it and then try and breathe slowly. Is that right?
Yeah. So the first thought should be bringing awareness. The moment if you don't bring awareness, then you don't know what change to bring.
Correct.
So first that awareness has to come. Right? And from there, we can start to bring the changes, and we can shift our sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight or flight, into relax and renew. Right? And that is the parasympathetic nervous system. Right? And that happens when you are breathing slow and low, light and silent.
I think I love these, simple take-home information that you're sharing in this talk, and I would like to repeat that. And then you said something from flight and fight to renew and relax, or renew and rest, renew and relax. I think those are great takeaways from this talk, because I think just remembering these words can help. When you're in that situation of fight and flight, your mind can kind of remind you of renew and relax. And that can help
or
you
can say relax and digest. Digest is also main part, right? Not just the food aspect, but overall is also important.
What is happening around you? Just take a pause.
We need to digest that, right? Yes. So rest and digest would be another way of saying it.
Beautiful. Thank you. This was fascinating to just learn about all the breathing process, the voluntary, the involuntary breathing, and how we can bring awareness and try to shift into a calmer mode. So is there any short practice that you think we can do while we are connected to instantly feel refreshed?
Sure, definitely. There are quite a few ways we can do that, and I will just name, and then we can, maybe if time permitting, we can practice also. So first, bottom line is breathe through your nose. That's the underlying factor about functional way of breathing, is to breathe through the nose 24/7, unless you are eating, talking, singing, laughing, right? So, and breathing in a way so that our breath is abdominal diaphragmatic breathing. As I had mentioned, that to go further down to low in the body, right? Lower in the body. I don't like to use the word deep, because when we say deep, people end up doing breathing in a more and bigger way.
Correct.
Which
can be strenuous and defeats the purpose of becoming relaxed and calm.
Exactly. That's why I like to use the word low, away from the surface, lower in the body. Yeah.
That's
so amazing. Doing the abdominal diaphragmatic breathing and even alternate nostril breathing helps to reduce the stress. Nadi Shodhana. So those are the three ways you can start to first quiet yourself down and start from that baseline, the foundation, from where you can go from there further.
And when someone is just beginning with this journey of, trying to breathe in a more conscious manner, what is the time that they should allocate themselves? Like 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
10 minutes is good time. But I would say, yes, 10 minutes on the mat, or if wherever they are sitting, but throughout the day, 24/7, how they are breathing, right? We are breathing anywhere from 15 to 20,000 times a day.
Yeah.
If just 10 minutes you are breathing the correct way, but the rest of the time you are not breathing the correct way, well, it's not helping you.
Yeah.
So every now and then, bringing awareness to your own breath and check with your breath. Say hello, hi, how are you? Yeah, I'm here. Like,
Yeah.
So that's the key aspect again. That yes, 10 minutes is good to get started. And I would also say just not once a day, twice a day, or three times a day, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes will also help.
Yeah.
Right. And overall, throughout the day, you want to bring the awareness and check in with your breath.
I love this because, we take breaks for so many things, visiting the bathroom, or, taking a water break, taking just a break to stretch your body. So I think if we can just include taking breaks for breathing more consciously, it will help us overall. Like you said, building focus when you are at work, and other times just calming you and relaxing you between two tasks.
Correct. Absolutely. Yourself and ground your feet. If you're sitting in the chair, then ground your feet on the floor wherever you are, and sitting comfortably so that your spine is nice, tall, and erect. Correct. So that's the starting position for your posture. And after that, close your eyes and bring your awareness towards your breathing without changing in any ways. Just notice how your breath is in the moment. So I invite you to close your eyes if you feel comfortable to, and then bring your focus towards your breath. And notice what is happening. Where do you feel the movement in your body with each breath? Notice if your chest is moving, or if your abdomen is moving, or maybe your shoulders are lifting up and down. Simply noticing without bringing any changes to begin with. Continue with your breathing. Relax your physical posture. And now I would invite you to bring your one hand on the chest and the other hand on the upper abdomen. And again, start to feel the feedback you may get on your hand, in your hands as you are breathing. Again, notice when you are breathing in, is your upper hand moving the most or the bottom hand moving the most? Notice that. When we get the feedback, it helps us that how we are breathing. That's why placing hands on chest and abdomen really helps. And if you find that your upper hand is moving the most, I would encourage that you want to pacify the chest muscles by pressing your hand, the top hand on the chest, to gently press and pacify your chest muscles. Immediately, you will start to notice that your bottom hand starts to move more now. Couple of more breaths. Keep the top hand still gently pressed against the chest. And now I would ask you to bring the top hand on the lower abdomen area below your navel. So one hand is below your navel and the other hand is now above the navel. But continue the way you are breathing. And notice if you feel now that the top hand as well as the bottom hand is moving with each breath. So now you can say that you are breathing abdominal diaphragmatic way of breathing. And you start to feel the movement in your abdomen. So now see if you can slower your breathing. And you can also relax your arms now on your lap, hands on your lap, and continue to breathe. Relax your shoulders, relax your facial muscles. And then open your eyes whenever you feel ready. So, how do you feel, Sneha?
It was great. It was amazing. Just taking the time to be with yourself. I think, but what helped me the most was the guidance that you were providing. If I was left on my own, then my mind would wander. But I think when I was following all the instructions that you were giving me, I think it was helping me just be where I should be. It was amazing. Yeah. Yeah. So if people want to work with you and get your guidance, just like we did right now in this session, where can they find you on social media? How can they get in touch with you?
So definitely they can visit my website.
Mm-hmm.
It's www.yogasheila.com, YogaSheila.com. They can visit on my website and reach out to me. They can email me, Jyoti at yogasheila.com.
I'll
That's
include all that information in the notes below so that people can have access to it. Are you on Facebook, Instagram, any page that
Yes,
they can
I am
follow?
on Facebook. They can go Yoga Sheila NC. And for Instagram, also same thing. It's Yoga Sheila NC. That's how they can tag me on the social medias too.
Great. Thank you. This session was so amazing, just to learn about breathing, which we take for granted most of the times. And I love all those, take home two-liners that you shared with us. And I will be sure to include those for our listeners as well. And this practice that you were able to give us for a few minutes on this live. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking out the time and, adding some meaning to our lives. I hope to now become more aware about my breathing, and I'll share with you once I've done this for a few days how I feel. Thank you once again.
And again, thank you, Sneha, for inviting me on this platform and giving me the opportunity to talk about my favorite subject.
I know. Thank you. The pleasure was all mine. Thank you.
Thank you, Sneha. Yeah.
And all these, some of them are actual yoga practitioners, but some of them could be self-proclaimed yogis.